なければこれで早くも打ち止めということになりますが。
俺こうなったら力ずくであいつを海へ逃がす。
バカ言え。あの首はどうすんだ。ケイミーが爆発しちまう。
だったらあの首輪の鍵をなんとか。
時間いっぱいです。
Racism has always been a key feature in the world of One Piece. Whether it is the fishmen, Tontarta, long-legged, long-hand, giants, or even humans, Oda has made sure to hammer home the fact that the celestial dragons do not really care about the other races of the world, as they only view them as livestock, which could be exploited indefinitely. Each race does also seem to have a pretty interesting backstory, some of which do have significant ties to the Void Century. Of the many races present in the world of One Piece, 2 of these races have been denoted as very rare. The Lunarians, who initially lived atop the Red Line, and to no surprise, seem to have been wiped out, and the race revealed in this chapter, the Buccaneer race, who seem to have inherited giant blood, giving them abnormal strength. These 2 extremely rare races seem to have had very intrinsic ties to the ancient kingdom, as it is through their stories that Oda revealed even more details about Joy Boy, or Nika. In King's case, he told Kaido about Joy Boy, who was the warrior of liberation. This motivated Kaido to become an emissary of brutality, awaiting the day that Joy Boy, the warrior of liberation, would come to Wano and defeat him. This is why when he was eventually defeated, Kaido concluded that Luffy was Joy Boy. In Bartholomew Kuma's case, while captured and working as a prisoner and slave in Marijoa, his father always told him about sun god Nika and his heart rhythm, and how he would bring smile to the people's faces every time. It was this very story that other prisoners picked up and eventually told who's who when he too ended up in the dungeons or Marijoa. The interesting part about the Buccaneer people is that they were said to have committed a great crime. The manner in which Kuma and his family were treated makes me believe that Oda has revealed one of the tribes that actually opposed the world government during the Void Century. Similar to how Wano Kuni is intrinsically tied to the ancient kingdom, so would have been the kingdom of the Buccaneer people. If you guys wish for the Buccaneer people to have the last laugh at the end of the story, please smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for more related content. Without further ado, let us talk about the chapter. I will start this chapter analysis by straight up saying that Oda did a real 360 in this chapter, as Saturn was unfazed by Bonnie's attack. He regenerated from all the damage she inflicted. Just that feat alone had me reflecting on his title, Warrior God, which definitely means in terms of battle prowess, he stands atop the hierarchy of the world government. And yes, above Sakazuki, and even above Kong, whom I assume should be stronger than Sakazuki. But let me not get ahead of myself. Let us digress. Saturn removed the sword, and his wounds healed by themselves. This is yet another unique feat, as Oda has never shown any character to have self-regeneration in the story ever. He said he could have dodged Bonnie's attack if he wanted to, but did not. This means the physical damage she was going to inflict was negligible. Using a strange ability, Saturn was able to somewhat pull Bonnie towards his arm and grab her, as well as knock Sanji back. This had me thinking that Saturn's powers so far looked like force manipulation. His ability to pull Bonnie without touching her seemed similar to Blackbeard's Kirazu, and the manner in which he knocked Sanji back was a little weird to explain. Saturn was disappointed by Kizaru's incapacity to get the job done quickly, but understood that the most possible reason was that Luffy was that strong. So he tried to take out Luffy by stabbing him with one of his claws, but Frankie saved Luffy by punching him in the back and later on grabbing him. Saturn did commend Luffy for the strength of his crew. It was at this moment that Saturn explained that, despite Luffy and Bonnie's unexpected appearance on the island, there was literally no way that they could escape. Of course, Saturn thought that he had total control over the situation, but Oda had clearly shown us that there are 4 main rogue factors that he wasn't aware of. The first and obvious one is that Kuma is on his way to Egghead Island and will be arriving anytime soon. Kuma's powers are of course one of the main assets that could be used by the Straw Hats to escape. The next factor is the presence of some members of the Blackbeard pirates on the island, which means they too could thwart Saturn's plans in some way. One of which could be kidnapping York, for instance, since she is their main ally amongst the Vegapunks. With Lafitte and Katarina Devon's powers, I think kidnapping York would be easier now, since most of the powerhouses of the crew have their hands full. Another rogue factor would be the giant robot that became active in a recent chapter. It is very possible that Robot could be the one to take the place of the Vega Force One and carry the Sunny away from the Navy ships so that they could use the coup de burst to propel themselves away from the island. The final rogue factor is S-Bear. How is he important, you may ask? Well, you see, he was made from Kuma, so his DNA or lineage factor is extremely related to Kuma, and this can help. We already saw this with S-Snake. She fell in love with Luffy, similar to how Hancock did. This might mean that, in the event that the Seraphims were released, S-Bear could end up saving Bonnie, or sending her away using his Paw ability, since this is most likely what Kuma would have done. Apparently Saturn's powers seem to have immobilized everyone. Vegapunk explained that this was most probably the ability of his devil fruit. The other Navy soldiers tried to act as support by trying to attack Vegapunk while they were immobilized, but he asked them to stand down. After thanking Vegapunk for all of his services, he asked him in which order he would like them to each die. I suppose Bonnie drew the first straw, as her execution was to be by the firing squad. Bonnie told Saturn he had killed her father, definitely alluding to the fact that Saturn was the one that gave the order that Kuma's memories be completely erased. A flashback ensued, focusing on Kuma and Bonnie. To me it seems Kuma might end up having a great conclusion, as he will be freed for the final time by Nika. He told Bonnie about Nika the warrior of liberation, and Kuma's wordings were, he would dance into action with a smile on his face. To which Bonnie replied, will he save me too? This was a little weird, because it sounded like Bonnie and Kuma were on the run, maybe from the world government. Could this be the reason why Kuma gave himself up? I have always thought that Kuma gave himself up so that Bonnie could be free. Saturn said that Kuma was part of a certain race that committed a certain crime. The crime itself was not revealed and is up for speculation. But Kuma was revealed to be part of the exterminated Buccaneer people. The manner in which they were exterminated was not revealed as well, and is up for speculation. Kuma's flashback ensued. Born in the Sorbet Kingdom of South Blue, 47 years ago, Kuma was already a large boy from his birth. This might definitely mean that Bonnie is not related to Kuma by blood. Kuma's blood was identified by spies in the hospital, who leaked the information to the world government. And so, Kuma's family got captured and enslaved. We do not know how the Lunarians were eradicated, but for the Buccaneer people, I am extremely surprised that the world government had to even send spies to infiltrate hospitals around the world to monitor the blood groups of the children being born. This must mean that what the Buccaneer did was considered so atrocious by the world government that they wanted them completely eradicated. This makes me believe that the Buccaneer were probably allies of Joy Boy during the Void Century. This is also backed by the fact that Kuma's father, Clap, knew so much about Nika. This would also explain the reason for Kuma's family's immediate enslavement after capture. Kuma and his family were brought to Marijoa to work as slaves. His mother passed away shortly afterwards. Kuma's father was also killed afterward for one of the most silly resources, which was making too much noise. Kuma's only source of comfort after his father's passing were the stories of Nika that his father told him about. This story was probably also told by Kuma to other slaves, who eventually ended up telling who's who. We are now 38 years ago. Kuma was now 9 years old. It was revealed that every 3 years, the Celestial Dragon organized a population eradication tournament, and this competition was to take place in non-world government-affiliated islands. This could be the manner in which the world government grew over the years, as the island is eventually claimed by the world government as their own, after all the natives have been killed. The island chosen for the population eradication tournament was God Valley. The twist in that year's tournament was to be the fact that the participants were not only to eliminate the natives, but also the problematic slaves, and of course, Kuma was one of those. St. Garling Figarland, who looked like a young Shanks, easily killed the king, which cost him 1,000 points. Even so, we know that Garling was the champion of God Valley, so he most probably won the tournament, despite his handicap. The million-dollar question would be, was the competition done by the time that the Rocks pirates arrived? Or did their arrival cause the cancellation of the tournament? How did Kuma escape? And how did Shanks find himself in a treasure chest? There are so many questions that need to be answered, and I do believe Oda will answer them at the right time. St. J. Garcia Saturn was also present, and he looked exactly the same as he does now. I think at this point, it is safe to assume that Saturn must have had the surgery of perpetual youth performed on him. I do not know whether he is the only one who could be immortal amongst the 5 elders, but this would explain a whole lot. Why he was able to recognize Nika from his appearance, why they know so much about the Void Century and more. The fact that Saturn was on God Valley, and that Kuma knows about the Celestial Dragon's population eradication tournament. could explain why Saturn wanted Vegapunk to erase all of Kuma's memories. The reason was simple. Kuma knew too much. This population eradication tournament was probably another one of the Celestial Dragon's dirty secrets, which was never meant to be known by the general public, as it could act as a catalyst for rebellions. Kuma tried to escape, but he was captured by the other slaves, and pulled back so he can also be one of the prey in the tournament. It was this part of Kuma's memories that Bonnie was seeing in the lab that caused her to burst into tears. While they were pulling him back, they were interrupted by a young Emporio Ivankov and a mysterious girl called Ginny. This part was amazing, as it meant that Ivankov has known Kuma for 38 years. As for Ginny, many speculate that Bonnie is her daughter, and that might be true. God Valley yet again got us hyped up, as it was revealed that not only were there Rocks pirates on their way to that island, but Roger and possibly even Garp. With Kuma's backstory, Oda took the concept of Gentle Giant to a whole new level. Let me know your thoughts on the chapter. I am your host Sean, and I will catch you guys in the next one.